For those of you who are entering a different season of life, or maybe a next chapter, maybe you're welcoming your first child, second, third, or who knows what, or maybe you're an empty nester and the things that used to call to you beforehand is now just evolving and changing. It's okay to grieve that. And it's also okay to celebrate it as well. And for me, I used to have these really big, journals, and every year around my birthday, I would get a brand new journal. Now, some people get it at the tide or turn of the year. I would get it around my birthday because every single year would commemorate, a new beginning. And so, shout out to new beginnings. And this is a very, very new decade for me. And I'm so excited I get to take you into this portal of all of the things, the lessons that I've learned, and what I'm no longer taking with me into this new decade, and how I feel not just super juicy and, youthful and sexy and really owning who I am unapologetically. I know many of you have listened to me use the word unapologetic, and I truly mean it. And to have the audacity in ourselves to be bold and to step into that power, it takes courage, it takes bravery. So, and I want to first start by honoring the woman who I was at 20. I mean, honestly, this was the beginning of, reclaiming myself. It was the ode to my becoming. It was really for me stepping into my power and fully entering my 20s in Europe. So this was actually the year that, my father had died. He had died a year before when I was 19. And I was just done. I mean, I was done. I had lost my mother and my brother years before, and this all happened within a span of 5 years. And I just wanted to get away, get away from honestly from tragedy and death. I'm like, I need some laughter and love. Like, can I just get like a regular romance in my life, because things have been really hot and heavy, and not the hot and heavy kind that, normal 19, 20-year-olds would face. This was a lot of death. It was a lot of darkness. It was a lot of me sacrificing. And, I had to button everything up and save face. And my poor, shout out to my grandmother and my bua and my other aunt Mamachi, who were just doing the best that they could to be there for Vinay and I, my brother. And I so badly wanted to study abroad. And I begged and I pleaded to go. And, both my bua, who's my dad's sister, and my grandmother, like, they laid on the guilt trip thick. I mean, it was lathered and layered and layered. I mean, that guilt trip was so thick. And they layered it on so badly, but I was relentless. You know how when you get something in your head and you're like, there's no way, I'm not turning back. I'm not turning back. This was like my soul's calling. Recall that I didn't get to go away to college because during my senior year, when I was applying to all of these, amazing colleges, my brother, DJ, suddenly died of an asthma attack in front of his school. And it was, really traumatic. It took me years of healing before I could even speak about it without getting fully choked up. And it was my senior year of high school. And honestly, this was 2 years, 3 years later, I wasn't taking no for an answer. I was dreaming, okay, dreaming to be away from the thick, sad cloud of grief hovering over my life for what it seemed like forever. And so I applied. I applied to the study abroad program. It was Loyola University. Shout out to Loyola. I went to actually Loyola University in Chicago, and they have a Loyola Marymount. Funny enough, I used to live in Playa Vista right next to Loyola Marymount, and so crazy. And there's another chapter of Loyola because it's a Jesuit school, and it was in Roma, Italia. And I was like, okay, if I get in, this is it. This is going to be for me. And of course, I made my case that I needed this, on my resume for dental school, which was like half true. For the ladies that be, my grandmother and my aunt, but my soul was just longingly desiring to breathe the European air, which was freedom. And honestly, not having to take care of a single soul except for myself for once in my life. Remember, I became a child caretaker at 10 years old. So for an entire decade, I did not know what it meant to have a choice, to have a voice. And this was that beginning for myself. And so there it was, Roma, Italy. And it was June of, God, I don't know, it was how many years? Yeah, 20 years ago in June. I'm like trying to do the math. And I tasted freedom on so many levels. Freedom of having my first sip of alcohol. I know I was late to the game, but when you have parents dying of cancer, I mean, that's the least thing that you're really thinking about, right? And I had my own little eat, pray, love journey, this back to the core of my essence, my being. I had my first taste of what it felt like to be living in a dorm room with other roommates. I had tasted the freedom of going to a concert and not having to worry about anybody passing away or getting that like thump phone call. Shout out to back in the day when you had like Motorola razors, because I totally had one of those. And it was where I discovered Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, like he was like on my posters in my room, in the bunk bed. There was no AC in my dorm while taking Roman art history class with students from literally all parts of the globe. And since then, I've learned, since that very beautiful, divine, delicious, juicy trip to Italy, and when I had some shenanigans all over Italy, I mean, it was just a trip of a lifetime. And really understanding how the global world works and how there was so much more to life than just being in my tiny, little big city town of Chicago. I vowed to make Europe my destination in the summers. And this was, to rekindle this homage that I really planted for myself, this bliss, this discovery, this awe, this wonder, play, back to my heart of just pure joy and irreverence for anything except for myself. And I kept that commitment for now close to 20 years. I mean, of course, there were years in the mix of having babies. And, even when, gosh, Ari was like 8 months old, we still were in Europe that summer that he was, born. We skipped a couple years, recently. Um, but honestly, visiting different parts each summer for either work, for research. And I even vowed to myself to try and manifest and really work towards even building a career that would allow me to do it, whether it was in dentistry or I was consulting for a little bit at the time. I had so many different ventures. But I wanted to make sure my summers were kept for that sort of exploration. And now, honestly, we're back here with my children. We're in Estonia for a month. And I mean, it's just this really amazing, cute medieval town. And it's like Christmas. Seems like it, at least. It's like gingerbread houses on steroids. It is just the most cute town. I don't know if I'd want to be here during Christmas time because there's only like a few hours of daylight in the winter. But now where the sun sets at like 11:30, and I mean, the sun rises at like 3 in the morning. It's just bananas.
See you next time at the Brave Table.